My belief is that it was because the police union got very angry with me because I spoke out for pension reform with the police and firefighter pension plans. And it's no surprise to anyone that there's problems with the pension plans throughout the country.
Right. Tell us about it.
Well, we have, the city of Fort Lauderdale, 3 years of negotiating different contracts, long before I was ever there, had agreed to have a defined benefit plan rather than defined contribution. And with that came a runaway inflation and to the taxpayers as far as that fund goes. During these financial times, and at the time I was speaking out and trying to get people the commission to realize what was going on, it was pretty apparent that a lot of them felt uncomfortable doing that. They didn't feel that they wanted to take part in that kind of discussion because of what it might mean to either their re-election possibilities or whatever. And I felt as a commissioner and representing all the taxpayers, not just District 1, that it was my responsibility to do that. Bruce Roberts at the time was chief. He was in the negotiations. Of course, we don't sit at the negotiating table with the union and all. We have a negotiating team. But it was very apparent that he felt that I was probably not their friend, so to speak. But I didn't feel that way because I felt that the important thing was to protect the viability of that plan too, because if the plans fail, then there's real serious problems. And there's cities all over the United States that are actually declaring bankruptcy in order to get out from under these very, very unsustainable...
That's actually my phone.
Oh, okay.
Firing missiles at Al-Qaeda insurgents.
These unsustainable pension plans. Now, we had wonderful success with the Teamsters Union.
Right.
And that plan was changed, and it's a defined contribution plan now. And the taxpayers will subsidize it by 9%. That will go into the fund. Now, this is just for new employees, the ones that are currently there, and it would be the same thing for the police and fire. They're in the plan that they have, and they would be protected. But with the runaway inflation and all that's happening with that plan, and I was at a forum last night that had asked us to make opening statements and give them some information, which I did, and one of the astounding pieces of information that I provided to them, and this, of course, can be checked out at any of the city, is the cost of what has happened over the years. And let me see if I can find it here quickly. Got it here somewhere. Back in 2001, the city's plan, they had to subsidize the pension plan by $4.1 million. And today, let me get the page so I don't misspeak. It was over $21 million, but I'll find it exactly. Here it is.
So if you could...
This is what it was. In 2001, the total pension costs for police and fire were $4.4 million. By 2008, they had ballooned to $21.3 million, a 384% increase. I mean, that is so astronomical. And when people say, like some of the candidates for the mayor especially, are saying, oh, well, the budget is just totally out of control, I have to agree because of things like this. You can't sustain this. And the problem with this, too, is we don't know ahead of time. We have to wait for the actuarial reports. So it's like a bomb that's dropped on you, and after you've already set your budget for that year, then you find either bad news or good news, and usually it's bad news.
So if you could reform it, it would be for new employees
Yes.
coming in, it
Yes.
would be a defined contribution.
Correct.
9% subsidy, you said, by the
Well, you know, that,
Teamsters or someone else?
well, 9% is what the Teamsters got for their general employees. And all that would be subject to negotiations. And I understand that they like the plan they have, and the people that are here today will have that. They will keep those benefits. But the new ones coming in, and I believe that Miramar just started something similar to that. And I would suspect that the Broward delegation or the League of Cities actually are going to start looking at this, because we're going to have a lot of impacts from the lack of revenue coming out of Tallahassee and elsewhere. So we've got to look at the big numbers. You know, you get people that will say, oh, well, we'll get volunteers to clean the park. Well, how much is that going to save you?
So is that with you guys are going to be back in negotiations with police and fire soon, are you going to be pushing for
Oh,
for that?
yes, absolutely. It's my responsibility to do it, I feel. I mean, you know, people would say to me, oh, you better not talk out against the union. I said, I'm not talking out against the union or the men or the women. I mean, as a nurse, when I was a nurse, I worked with the police and firefighters and all the time, and I greatly respect them. It's the money part of it that we have to look at as elected officials. And it's for their good, too. I mean, they're, you know, sure, they'd like to all be able to retire and take home a $250,000 drop check. Or we had a recent retiree, 3 retirees that took home over $500,000. So when you have people like that, assistant chiefs, and but that was part of their benefit in that plan. So it's pretty rich.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty rich.
The city manager, someone that